Hi everybody, it's Joe from Canyon Ferry Custom Tackle, here to show you some of the ways that might be able to help you out as far as rigging your tip-ups. I'm also going to show you this new spool we've created and why it's going to help you. So here's the new spool. Here's the old beaver dam spool, the most recent one, and here's the one that we've produced. So obviously it has a handle, which is a big deal. And then the other big difference is it has the large arbor as opposed to the small arbor on the most tip-ups. Other things I'm going to use in this rigging is here's just a generic bobber stop, a standard barrel swivel, and one of our custom leaders. It's a wire leader, but it's a very flexible wire, and with a small treble hook. Okay, so anyway, first thing I want to talk about is the spool. This spool can fit either the newest beaver dam tip-up that has the set screw in the side, like this one, or if you continue to drill through, it'll also fit the older style, which is like this, that has the nut in the bottom. So either one of those will work. As far as why you'd want to switch out, there's several reasons. One of the reasons being, I'll give you an example here. I measured out a foot of line here and marked it with this piece of masking tape. So basically, in order for me to spool up this amount of line on this tip up, it takes me approximately 6 turns to spool in that foot. With the large arbor, the same reeling in takes half as much. It only takes about 3 turns. Bear with me here. About 3 turns to get to the masking tape. 1, 2, and 3. There it is. So why does this matter? For several reasons. One is that you're not hunched over trying to reel this thing in when you got all that line out. The other reason is in order to get that full spool, you only really have to put about 50 or 60 feet of line on as opposed to 100 yards. Now anybody who's caught a catfish or a pike knows that they'll run that line out the whole way, and you'll have a pile of line sitting on the ice. It gets hung up on the stuff on the bottom, and there's just no reason to have that much line. And anybody who fishes with a regular fishing reel understands that reels are much more efficient when they're at full spool. They're much easier to turn in the case of a tip-up. Same amount of line you take off, doesn't have as much friction. It has the same amount of friction for one rotation, so if you're pulling off more line, there's actually much less friction per inch of line that you take out, so therefore the fish is going to feel a lot less. So there's just a lot of different ways or reasons why this is a huge improvement. Okay, so how do we rig this? Okay, so I've got my my tip up here, and I got the end line. Now I'm just going to show you a sample. Actually, I'll cut this one off and start over again. I'll show you an example on this empty spool. Now, this one other thing this spool has is it has a hole that goes through, so you can tie your line through, and you don't have to use tape anymore or anything. So you just thread it through that hole, you run it around, and you can tie your arbor knot, which is you run it through. What I like to do is I just tie an overhand knot in the end of the line. Okay, you pull that tight. Okay, and then here you're going to tie another overhand line knot over the existing line. So we'll do that. Here goes the overhand knot. Not working with me here. Okay, so we got that overhand knot. We'll work it tight. And there we have a good arbor knot that's not going to slip. Okay, so there you go. So it makes it much easier. There's no slipping, there's no tape to be applied, and that's it. Okay, so how are we going to rig this? We're going to spool up. In my case, I put about 50 feet of line. That's plenty if you're fishing 15 to 20 feet of water, even 25 feet of water. That gives you plenty of line to work with. Okay, so we'll go ahead and pretend like this is run out to the end of the line. I've spooled up my tip up spool, so I'll go ahead and cut this off. Okay, so here's the end of our line. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this bobber stop and I'm going to feed it on, and I generally will feed this bobber stop up about 15 feet or so up the line. Okay, I'm only going to do it here close to the end just for the demonstration. Okay, so I'll pull the plastic tube out of the bobber stop, remove that, and I'll pull the bobber stop line kind of tight, but so it won't slip easily, but tight enough that I can adjust it. What this is going to do is allow us to use this to set our depth. Okay, so I can adjust it. Now I like to keep the minnow about 6 inches off the bottom, so we'll use the depth bomb, find out where the bottom is, and adjust accordingly so we can have that. So there's our little marker, so that's easy to see, it's easy to move, and it's very nice for setting up your tip up so you can consistently get the right depth every time you drop the minnow down. Okay, so then we can go ahead and we can put our swivel on. I like to use a Palomar, that's my favorite knot. It's funny when you're trying to do this to show people, it doesn't cooperate quite as much. Anyway. Okay, so there's my Palomar. Okay, looking good. Okay, so I'll trim that tag end off. Okay, and then the pre-made leader is easy. It's already got a loop in it, and I'll just run the loop through the eye of the swivel, and you're good to go. The only extra thing I'll put that I'm not going to show you here is right up above this barrel swivel is where I'll put a little split shot. And I only use enough weight to get to keep the minnow down, but not, so the fish will notice it, not an excessive amount of weight. Okay, so there we go. This is a nice way to rig it because if this thing gets kinked or this leader gets kinked or damaged by the fish, we can change it out pretty easily and we're back in business. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Please take a look at these. If you have any questions, Canyon Ferry Custom Tackle, it's cfctackle@gmail. You can email me, take a look at our website, and if you have any questions, shoot me a line. Appreciate you watching.